umpire throwing people out, like the arm motion, towards the clubhouse.
Oh, when you actually did lock somebody up?
Yeah, right. And then it just would have been so cool if I did that. And I think, the other inmates would have got a kick out of it.
God, you just made my life so much easier. When I kick a kid out of class being a teacher, I'm just going to ring them up like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you got to do.
I'm just going to do that. And it's going to be in phys ed class, too. It's going to be like in the gym. And I'm just going to be like, you know what? You're out of here, kid.
Yeah, that's...
Just throw them out.
So perfect, yeah. I was so young back then. I was like 21, and, I was still living at home at the start of it and didn't have a responsibility in the world. But when my training ended and that door locked behind me and it was just me and 59 of them, life changed, And
they're your best friends sometimes out there.
Yeah. I gotta once you get their respect and they realize that you're not in there to screw with them. It typically, it can be a really stress-free job. But sometimes, like, if it was a full moon, there would be tons of fights, and that would suck because there's so much paperwork involved with that. And then if you pepper spray them, it's like just the use of control report was like 20 pages. So that's why I only pepper sprayed 2 people in the 3 years I was there.
Nice.
Just wasn't worth it. Yeah. So anyway, enough of that. I don't even know how I get on that.
That's just what we do here sometimes.
Yeah, I think we were talking about the
We
bullpen.
did good, though. We made it like an hour without getting off topic once. That's really good for us.
That is really good.
Nailed it.
Has it really been an hour? Almost, yeah.
Almost, yeah.
All right, well, let's shift over into some trade talk. And I realized when I woke up this morning that Dave Dombrowski is a lot like Donald Trump. He does all of his damage in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, you wake up and you're like, what the hell happened? And I'm like, Ian Kinsler's a Red Sox person, and, and it's just how he operates, apparently.
When you're sleeping, he's working.
The Ziegler deal, the first time around, went down, when that happened. It was, I woke up and Brad Ziegler was a member of the Red Sox. And, so I'll get into my thoughts last. So, Dave, what did you think of the transaction?
The Ian Kinsler transaction?
Yes.
I absolutely loved it. I think this is exactly what we needed. I said when it happened, I tweeted, it's a good transaction. I said something along the lines of it's good, and he's had a down year, but still, very serviceable, been on, up and coming recently, and is great defensively. That was without looking up any of his stats. That was just knowing him from the first 2 months of the season when he was on the DL, like twice, started out the season batting sub 200. Then I dove into his stats a little bit, and recently, and even the last, say 2 months, he's been flat out great. In the last 30 days, he's batting .320 with 2 home runs and, a little pop here and there. Since the All-Star break, he's even been more hot, .452. He's the second best defensive second baseman in the league this year, and has his WRC plus by the month has gone up from 66 to 76 to 102 to 143. So not only is he a huge upgrade defensively, getting the second best defensive fielder in the league, he's batting .240 coming into this, extremely hot, and can play everyday second base for you. Exactly what we needed. And I tweeted today, I went into your mentions and was talking to some people, and I was saying for all the Nunez huggers out there that he's still going to play because Devers is out for at least 10 days, and that's minimum. He's going to play third base. He's more comfortable at third. He's better defensively at third. And he's either going to play until Devers gets back or he sucks, whatever comes first. And Kinsler is going to be our everyday second baseman. We needed it. He's exactly what we needed. He's not that expensive. We actually don't even have to pay him that much. Not that that really matters in the grand scheme of things, but it helps. And he fits in that lineup, and he can bat 6th or 7th for you and do damage. And you can move him around, just like tonight. He could have been batting 5th, he could have been batting 6th, he could have been batting 7th. You could put him at 9th, add him a second leadoff if you really want to. He fits this team really well. He's a pure rental. He's a veteran. He's played all around. He's not afraid of the big lights. And he's extremely clutch. I think David Price had something to say about him being clutch and something like that, saying it's the second most clutch person he knows behind Pedroia. So, I mean, I don't see how it's a negative thing at all. And he's going to help now and in the playoffs, something that we needed.
Austin, how did you feel about it? You were the one who texted me first about it. I saw your text before any reports, but I was already asleep by that point. But what were your thoughts when it went down?
Well, at first I thought it was a typo. I thought we got Brandon Kinsler. And I was like, all right, there's a bullpen arm, so we're good to go. Then I realized it was Ian Kinsler, and I sat down and I thought about it. Because, being in Texas, growing up, watching Ranger games, whenever the Sox aren't on, I saw Ian Kinsler a lot. And think about what we got. We got a second baseman who's been to the World Series twice and played really well in both of those World Series runs. So you got experience. You got a guy who David Price says has the fire in his eyes, just like Dustin Pedroia does. He's going to be very good for this infield. I think he'll help Devers out a lot once he gets back and is healthy. And I love this move. I mean, I think he's going to help us. The only downside is he strikes out a lot. So,
yeah, here's where I'm at. I don't think he's really a difference maker offensively compared to the tandem we had of Nunez and Holt. I'll agree wholeheartedly. I cannot deny that he is a far better defensive player than the other two, and especially Nunez. But we're not losing these games. The games we've lost, we're not losing them on defense. And Nunez has improved. He's having a much better summer than he had a spring. So I'm not concerned about that. We need a bat to slot somewhere into that 6 to 8 hole, and I don't know where he batted tonight, but once Devers comes back and once things start to settle again as far as injuries, I'm assuming he's going to hit probably 6th or so, and I don't think people are going to pitch to Bogaerts and be afraid of Kinsler behind him. He's just not a difference maker to me offensively, and his average has skidded the last couple of years. So we needed a better bat, and it sounds like Beltre kind of took that off the table. It sounds like it was more him as to why he didn't get dealt, but suddenly if you put him behind Bogaerts, that's a different story. Now Bogaerts has to get pitched to, and if Devers figures it out and gets consistent, then Beltre has to be hit too. And somebody like Beltre is a better asset to this team, and we need offense in the worst way. We just saw it in this series. We cannot hit good pitching. So, I mean, Kinsler, it's a push to me. I don't think our chances of winning a World Series is any better today than it was 3 days ago. I really don't. So I guess he's a good.
I have a feeling that Texas was asking for Blake, right? Because they don't have a good catcher. I mean, they have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's kind of he's like a lesser Blake Swihart. He plays all over the field, and he can catch every now and then. And you have Robinson Chirinos, who's 34 years old. So something tells me that they were asking for Blake, and I don't think that the Red Sox were willing to give up Blake at this point, especially not for a third baseman that you're going to rent for 50 games.
They could have had Vasquez.
Yeah, or even Leon, really. They could have had. But and I'm just using Beltre as an example, and...
No, he was the guy that people were talking about, though. It was a good example. I agree, though. I think he was more the one to say no. And he does have the full no movement, so it's definitely on him at the end of the day. And I think we did kick the tires on him, they said. But, I think defense in the playoffs is huge. And I think that you do win games on pitching and defense in the playoffs. So I think that Kinsler being there is a huge upgrade. And even tonight, I mean, you look, I don't think Bogaerts, had a chance at that play. But, if Bogaerts makes that play and it's 2-1 going into the ninth, a little bit of a different situation with bunting a guy over, having somebody pinch run, than it was 3-1. Now, we didn't score tonight at all, but you get what I'm saying, where if that was a normal play and Kinsler makes that play, then, well, all of a sudden, that's great. But I think he's a difference maker because of what, Austin was saying about how he does want it, and he's reliable, and he's a clutch player. His stats this year, not batting leadoff, have been great. Batting leadoff, he's batting 205. Everywhere else, in like the 6, 7, 8 hole, he's been really good. So it's good that he's batting there, and he's going to be batting there. He does provide some protection because right now, I don't think anyone was afraid of Nunez, and he's been good in July. He's batting 300, but more or less of his hits have become more often than not, his hits are becoming in less clutch situations, or like it was the other day when he got a triple for free. Just like he's in the park home run to start out the year this year. Shouldn't have been in the park home run, should have been an out or a single. And his triple last night should have just been a fly out. So I just think that Nunez doesn't show the clutch factor. I don't think that he's going to be a big factor in the playoffs. I think he hurts us defensively in a big way. So I think Kinsler coming in, he solves a lot of those issues. And there's no one out there at second base that I can think of that was available for a good asking price. Like Jonathan Scope would have been great, but they got a lot for him. The only other person that comes to mind would be Dozier for a big pop guy, but LA kind of outbidded us there, and he's having a down year too. So you take the average, I guess, with Kinsler because he'll hit for more average than pop, but there wasn't the big upgrade to be made, and we don't have the prospects to make it. So with what we're working with and what we did need, and this also pushes Nunez to third where he's better. If Devers comes back, if Devers off the bench or Nunez off the bench or Holt off the bench, all valuable options to come off the bench, better than Lynn, better than someone being called up, better than Vasquez or Leon. So it's not just the second base. It allows other things to kind of unfold as well.
Yeah, the bottom half of the order is just so bad anyway, so it is. It's
gotten better, though, which is good all around. Like, JBJ got better, Nunez got better, Swihart got better, and now Kinsler. So that's good. It's an upside, at least.
Nunez, to me, he's not going to have the pop that Kinsler has, but he's gonna hit for, he's going to hit for average, most likely, at this point. And he really is reverting back to his 2017 form. I think he's hitting, like, over 400 in the last 10 or 12 games. So he's getting up there, and he stole a base last night and kind of helped us win that way. And his defense hasn't been terrible. Like I don't think he's going to cost us games. Like I really want offense at this point. That's really all I'm concerned about. And when you get to the playoffs, I think your best lineup in terms of production is going to have JD in left field, Nunez at third, and Devers at DH. I think that's your best lineup. And then Bradley gets worked in. He might be a defensive replacement in the last third of a game if we have a lead or whatever. Or he might get a random start based on, his numbers against a certain pitcher or whatever. But I really feel like that's that gives you your most productive guys are in the lineup at that point. So Nunez could still conceivably get time, but our bottom part of the lineup is just it's the same as it's been all year, and I think it really will be even with Kinsler in it. And we didn't have to go after a second baseman, and we could have found a third baseman that was productive. And it's hard to I use Beltre as an example. It's hard to come up with any example because who saw Ian Kinsler coming a couple days ago?
Yeah, nobody did. That's for sure. And that's, I think he kicked the tires on a lot of players that we don't know about. I'm sure he just didn't call Texas and say, Beltre, nah, all right, let me get Kinsler. Sure, yeah. He called multiple teams, and I think he did his due diligence for sure. I think this is the best option he came up with. I mean, Dombrowski's not afraid to trade for a player, that's for sure.
No, I know, and I'd be curious to see who else was discussed because, like I said, we didn't even see Evaldi coming. All these things came out of nowhere, and Pierce is a nice story, but he's not going to be hitting 320 all year. And
he doesn't have to do all he's got to do is hit lefties. That's it.
I said in that opening segment, shoutouts and callouts, Moreland and Pierce are who has a platoon in your cleanup spot? It's just crazy. And so, maybe finding that other bat could have, maybe addressed that. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about how I hate